Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Damn, it's been a while since I've said those words. In this video, I'll be showing you how I turned this Hot Wheels Corvette C5 Coupe into a convertible mini replica of someone's real car. I'm gonna pause it real quick to let you know that I'm still not very used to filming while working, and I often struggled to focus on what I was doing while keeping what I was doing in frame. So if you're watching and wondering what the hell I'm doing, well, that's why. Alright, so we start with drilling out the rivets. Obviously I did this off camera, so this is a reenactment of that. Then we tap the posts with a 256 tap. I always do this slowly and gently by hand. They're pretty brittle, and once they break off inside the post, you'll need to work around them or get a new car and be more careful. I secure the screw before putting it in the paint stripper to keep the threads clean. We'll leave that there for at least 15 minutes. Next, we'll take our donor car, which is this Halloween edition C7 Corvette convertible, and all I want from this is the convertible trunk. So I'll take it apart using the larger bit since I have no plans of using this for anything else. And now I'll take this jeweler's saw and start cutting along the body line of the trunk. I'll do that to both sides until we have the trunk panel removed. That turned out really clean and I'm very proud of myself. Now let's get back to the C5 and fish that out of its chemical bath. It's obviously time to use new stripper since it looks like nothing has happened to the paint. It should be all shriveled up, but it looks more like it was sitting in water. Looks good. Just a for fun fit to kind of get my head wrapped around the end goal here. Alright, now I must cut up the only C5 I have in my possession. No pressure. And I broke a blade. Great. New blade, new cut. Let's get the windshield separated. I'm intentionally leaving a large bezel to allow for filing and smoothing, and also because I just feel more comfortable doing that. Another test fit. I was a little worried about variations in scale, but not anymore. I'm placing the interior because it's a smart thing to do. No, seriously, I would hate to do all this work and then realize I forgot to check if it would work with the rest of the car. Now I'll do some filing on the C5 to clean up the edges, and then I'll remove the chunk of metal from below the headrests because I don't want to mess with the interior piece. In theory, the plastic should be easier to modify, but my gut tells me to take it out on the donor panel, so that's what I'll do. More panel shaping, this time removing the taillights, followed by another test fit to make sure I'm staying on the right track, which I totally am. Now I'll need to temporarily secure the C7 trunk panel to the C5 so I can trace a line that tells me how much material to remove from the C5. Okay, I removed the spoiler part from the C7 panel because I imagined it was going to screw me up when it came to creating a seamless transition. So I ground it off and now I'm tracing a new line. Now that I'm happier, it's time to cut out the old trunk area, making sure to stay within the trunk body panel lines. I'm using a diamond tile cutting Dremel bit for this. It works wonders, but it does start heating up the Zamac to the point where it fills the nooks in the bit and slows down the cutting. Once it cools down, you can take a wire brush and clear it out. Look at that, coming together nicely. I'll continue filing and then do another test fit to see which spots need additional filing. I need to get as close to the body panels as possible. The goal is to have a clearance between the two panels that looks like it was cast that way. It can't be too big or too small, just right. At this point, I am so excited to see how well it's going. I can't help but wonder where I'm going to screw this up or what is going to go wrong. Does anyone else get that sense of impending doom when things seem to be going a little too good? Okay, anyways, now I'll rip the paint off the C7 panel with the wire wheel since I don't want to wait for my bad stripper to not work. Okay, I'm telling you, off-camera work is so much easier. I'll get better in time, I promise. I promise to try. So basically, I spot welded the panel on the top with UV resin, cured it, then filled the bottom inside to make it extra strong. Now I'll chip the tack welds off and fill the line I want to hide with a light line of resin. And I had this idea of using a paint pen to highlight any low spots during the smoothing process. I'm also starting with 120 grit sandpaper to really tear away at the excess resin and also soften the C7 panel lines, since the C5 doesn't have very pronounced lines. Now I'll increase to 400 grit sandpaper to smooth out the lines from the 120 grit and gently reduce the resin. Let's mark it again. Okay, see? It shows me a spot where I'm missing some resin. It must have fallen out during sanding or something, I don't know. Okay, I fixed that and we'll keep sanding it down a little by little. Sanding is the most time-consuming part of this whole process. I honestly think we're good to move on at this point. So I'll wipe it down with alcohol and prepare for primer. Okay, would you look at that? The primer has revealed some spots that need more fill and a panel gap that is not as pronounced as it needs to be. It's a shame because the rest looks really good. All right, went back and fixed that. You do not need to see any more sanding, so here is the end result. Now for base coat, which is base coat black from scalefinishes.com. The reason I use black as a base coat is because I heard it helps colors like red pop. Do you think it did? Alright, it has been several days of curing, which is more than is required for this paint. I am now going to wet sand using 2000 grit sandpaper to remove the orange peel and get ready for clear coat. Okay, remember a minute ago when I said, oh, things are going so well, what could go wrong? Look. Wait for it. Things were looking off, and I thought it was sandpaper residue, so I started wiping. What have I done? I accidentally used 99% IPA to wipe it down. What could go wrong? Me. The answer was me. Look at my fingers tapping, trying to wrap my head around what just happened and how I'm going to have to start all over. Cut to several days later, and I have a freshly refurbished custom that looks even better than my first attempt. I also realized I was way too light on my red paint. My coats were too light and too few, so I fixed that the second time around. Here's what it looked like before my finishing touches, and here's what it looked like when it was all said and done. I'm still kind of surprised that I actually made this. I've never done this before, and I'm so proud of how it turned out, even if I nearly ruined it. What do you think of the car? What do you think of me making videos like this? Do you want to see more? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.